Oh, hi there! How are you? My name is Brian Hegney. I'm an instructor of communication here at High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. You're probably here because you want to know how to work with Unreal Engine and how you want to create, and you'd like to know how to create a rising platform, maybe for a first-person shooter game, or a first-person hugging game, not shooting, or a first-person game, let's say that. Um, so, so we started off already. You probably just saw the first video about how to set up a blueprint. So right now, what we're going to do is we are going to learn how to tell the game that we want the platform to go up. So what are the many ways we're going to do that? Well, one of the ways we can do it is to use a very simple thing called a trigger volume. And so this video is for my students, and so some of my students have never used a game engine before. So what you have to do is get into the mode of thinking that that the computer needs to know what you want to do, right? So think back to the bottle exercise we did when I picked up the wrong bottle in class the other day, right? So just because I stand on a platform, and you know that the platform wants to move from one place to the next, the engine doesn't know that. You haven't told it anything yet. So it's waiting it's waiting for a trigger. It's waiting for something to trigger it to move the platform. So if you look under the modes panel on the right, you see there's a basic section. Click on basic, and at the very bottom of that, which is not in the basic panel, I'm sorry, it's in the volumes panel, the very bottom of that panel, there's a trigger volume. And that's what we're going to use. There's probably a million other ways to do it. There's a lot of terrible ways to do it, and there's probably many great ways to do it. I think this is one of the better ways to do it, and it's just to drag a trigger volume onto the platform. And what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to zoom in a little bit and kind of make that trigger. Is that good? I don't know. You have to ask yourself, when my player walks onto the platform, is it possible my player might not walk into the dead center of the platform and be standing there like, why isn't the platform moving? Is it also possible to accidentally hit the trigger before you get on the platform, in which case the platform would leave without you? So in games like this, it is you've got to play test it. You've got to make the right size of these triggers. You have to allow it so that your player will hit a trigger definitely, but won't accidentally hit the trigger when they're not on the proper place. So all that to say, I think I might scale this like 1.25 in the X direction, 1.25 in the Y direction. I'm probably gonna trigger that box. And for those of you who know me, you know I have to suppress all my sneezes. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh, terribly unprofessional. You're gonna edit all that out, right? Good, thank you very much. Okay. So people won't see that. Alright. You know what? I'm gonna set that to actually 1.5 and then move it slightly. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so that's perfect. And part of me really hates the fact that it's so tall for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm short and I have a thing against tall things. Is that possible? I don't. I love tall things. And, oh, sorry, I'm going to jiggle it a little bit, and then I'm going to do the trick where I tap the end key on my keyboard and send it down to rest on the thing that's below it. That's a nice little trick. Okay, so it's a trigger box, and what I'm going to do is open up the level blueprint. Open level blueprint. So if you've never worked in a level blueprint, this is great. You're going to love this. This is so exciting. If I have something selected in the world, right now it's the trigger box. Well, I've got nothing in my level blueprint. This is where all the magic happens for the level, or some of the magic happens for the level. So if you right-click in here in this event, and let's just put something in there so that we can actually see what we're talking about. If I right-click in here and something is selected in the world, and I have context-sensitive clicked in this little box, right? Then I will get options that have to do with the thing that's selected in the world. So right now, I actually don't want to create a reference for the trigger volume. What I want to do is I want to add an event for the trigger volume. And guess what kind of event I want to add? Yeah, that's right, a collision event, because I want to make something happen. I want to trigger an event when I collide with the box. And you know what? How about begin overlap? Because that kind of makes sense, right? And when I click that, now I get a little node on my screen. And look at it's in red. All of the red nodes are event nodes. So the event is I collided with the box. When that happens, I'm going to trigger a series of things. Now, what am I going to trigger? This is what we'll do in this little video. This may seem redundant. I would love your thoughts on this if you have any. But this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to add two variables. And it'll all come together at the end, I promise you. Those two variables are going to sound very similar to you. Familiar to you. One of the variables is going to be called, well, I'm going to call it LBP underscore platform 1 begin. Yeah. So, and I'm going to change that to a vector variable, 3D vector. Sorry, a 3D vector variable. And what that is that's going to have the XYZ coordinates, right? Okay, yeah. I'm going to add a second variable, and I think you know what it's called, right? Yeah, that's right. LBP underscore platform 1 end. And I'm going to hit enter. Notice because I changed the variable for the first one I did, when I clicked the new variable, the second one it added was the same type of variable, the 3D vector. All right. I am not going to make these public, and I don't want to see these widgets in my screen. I just kind of want to forget about them. But what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to work with those, right? So what's going to happen is, when I start the level, I want to set what those variables are. And so once again, I'm going to right-click in the event graph, and I'm going to look for an event, a very common event called event begin play. So this is the very first thing that happens in the level blueprint when it's pulled up. Event begin play. As soon as it begins, it fires off that event, and then it stops if you have nothing going on. I mean, you could put an loop in there and then it will never stop. But what I'm going to do is drag a node out, and I am going to set LBP platform begin, and I'm going to set LBP platform end. So what I'm doing is, we'll solve these all in the next video. I just want to kind of set this up so that I'm ready to go. I'm going to start the level. I'm going to set these variables, and those are going to be variables that are going to, those are going to be the coordinates that I'm going to start my platform at and end my platform at when I hit the trigger. So just to see if this trigger is working, just to show you that it works, I am going to execute an event. I'm going to execute something when this event happens. And so I'm going to drag a node out from the little white triangles, right? I'm going to let go. I'm just going to do a very simple print. Oh, Panic is now playing Monster Hunter World. Great. Print string. And, you know, this print string will say hello. Let's make it say something a little more relevant, like trigger! Exclamation points. And so that will show up on the right side of our screen when we're ready. So I'm going to compile this. Did I do anything weird? No, nothing's wrong. Okay, I'm going to save it. That's fine. I'm going to minimize this. And just for a little more knowledge. Now, I personally do not like to just click play right away. I do not like to play my game in the viewport. The reason is, I think it, like sometimes if your viewport is like that, right, you're playing a really tall game, and if it's really skinny because you're looking at all your other stuff, it's a really short game. I just don't like it. So what I like to do is play a new editor window. So if you click that little down arrow to the right of play, new editor window, click that, it's going to open up this window. So when I walk onto the platform, all it's going to do, just to make sure it's working, it's going to execute a print function, and it's going to print trigger on the top left of my screen. Let's just make sure it does that. There it is. Wonderful. Now, nothing else is working, but we have the trigger working in the level blueprint. We have the event begin play set up to kind of bring us from our begin point to our end point. And I know you're thinking, Hegney, you have a begin and end point in your platform, and you have a begin and end point in your level blueprint. Are you sure you're not confused? And I promise you I'm not confused. We'll get to it in the next video. So hit escape to get out of that. Go ahead and click Save All down here in your content browser. It's a really nice button. It will save everything, and then you can, I don't know, your computer can shut down, and you'll still have everything saved, and that's great. So I'll see you next time, and have a good, I don't know, whatever you're going to do in between the next two videos, I don't know.